Don't you worry, the clip's about to begin, but don't forget to subscribe. Or else, don't make me turn this website around.
We've got Michelle in California. Thanks for waiting. Welcome to the line. You're on with Mandisa and Matt. Uh-oh.
Oh, no. What is going on?
Are we having a technical problem with our... It's fixed. Michelle, you there?
Hello.
Hi. And by the way,
Yeah.
Lee from New York, we'll get right back to you after this.
I'm sorry?
Oh, we had a small
Hi,
problem with our
Michelle.
calls. We wanted to welcome you to the show, and I
Oh,
wanted to let Lee know that we'll get back to them after we're done with this. So how are you?
Okay. I'm great. Thank you. Am
So-
I on?
Yeah, go ahead with your question.
Oh, okay. So I'm a lifelong atheist and have always been politically left. And I lived in Ohio, Louisiana, Kentucky. Oh, I saw you, Matt. This was more than 10 years ago in Lexington, Kentucky. Most recently lived in East Tennessee for 15 years, and then I moved to California the last, 4 or 5 years ago. But I still have this hair trigger when people bring up religion or like right-wing politics. But it's way less triggering here, or it should be. And I was wondering if you had any advice on that. Because I used to just stay really quiet about it because I was outnumbered.
Well, if you're not outnumbered and things are better, I mean, what advice is there? Like, if you used to live in red areas and you kind of had to bite your tongue, and now you're living in one of the bluest of blue places and you don't have to bite your tongue, I'm not sure what advice you're looking for.
Well, I did stay quiet. I mean, I thought maybe somebody was going to, vandalize my property. I mean, it was kind of traumatizing. And, now I feel more liberated and, somebody might, like a Mormon might knock on my door and I feel kind of attacked. But I feel more free to express myself. And I don't like that about myself. And I don't know if that's something other people have experienced.
I think it may be a response to having been silent for so long, but I think, unfortunately, we are so used to giving religious people the privilege, and it could be a reaction, but that's not anything bad on you. It's about time to start speaking up. It's about time to start hitting them back with, well, what you believe is, what you believe is bullshit. And is actually what you stand for and your policies are actually hurting the general public. Because from what I understand, most Jehovah's Witnesses don't even vote. So they're impeding the process. So now, and I mean, it doesn't mean you have to be mean. You may feel like it because, unfortunately, when we're dealing with the majority in this country who has had, this privilege for so long, it may feel weird, to push back, but it's necessary. And practice makes
It does
perfect.
feel weird.
It's like the more you do it, the more you get used to it, because they simply may not know. They've been so used to doing this for so long that they don't know that there are others who have different views and more valid views. So it's time to give them something to think about. And it doesn't make you a bad person to do it.
That's an interesting point.
And by the way,
That's an interesting point.
there are people commenting chat and other places, they're saying like, oh, you have like the rough equivalent of PTSD. It's not up to me to diagnose anybody. Whatever the reason is that you're uncomfortable doing it is for you to explore. But I want to make sure that we're clear. I think it's absolutely time to speak out everywhere and to everyone. And I have no problem speaking out. But for someone who does, don't beat yourself up over it, because getting into arguments and debate and calling people out on stuff isn't for everybody. And a lot of people,
right.
Even attempting it just produces so much anxiety that it's better to let somebody else do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Get mad
no, I
on them.
don't have
He'll love it.
PTSD. I mean,
Just
that's
kidding.
not a thing. No, when I was living in like East Tennessee or East Kentucky, it just was not an option. I mean, it would have hurt my livelihood, potentially my housing. So no, I absolutely could not have done it. But here, I mean, my God, most of the population is progressive, and most of the people are also atheist. But yeah, every now and then I run across a, you know, fundamentalist religious person, and yeah, they step on my toes, and my knee jerk, just this knee jerk reaction is to go on the attack, and yeah, it's like these years of conditioning of,
And this is
oh
where it
God,
would be
I
important
can't
to,
say this.
I'm sorry, this is where it
So
would
it
be
is
important to
conditioning.
it might be important to utilize your community of
Right.
people around you,
I was literally
because
going to
they
say the
can
same thing.
offer support. They can offer support on how to handle that. And even if you're just venting to them, because they will understand. There is strength in numbers. There is strength in knowing that there are people around you who have been through it and who could possibly help you facilitate those discussions better, especially with you having to have been silent for so long. Utilize your community.
Okay, these are great practical suggestions. I really appreciate it. Thank you so
Yeah, it's
much.
one of the, if you surround yourself, you find
Thank
like
you.
a handful of people who are more of an activist than you are, you can go along with them, even if it's just
Not
what they said. Yeah, what
not
they said. I
really.
mean, that sort of,
Most of these folks here are they grew up here, so everybody's an atheist, everybody's progressive, and they seem to be kind of unaware that the rest of the country just isn't. I mean, it's kind of shocking, really, having lived, outside of California. The folks here seem pretty oblivious. They
well, maybe
seem
you
to
can wake
live
them
in a
up.
bubble.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah.
a nice bubble. I like this bubble better than the other bubble, but
But they
it is
still need
kind of
to
shocking.
realize, yeah, they still need to realize that not everyone has the same experiences. This is kind of what we talk about, right, Matt? I mean,
Yeah.
there are
Yeah, I
atheists
mean,
and
but
people
it's in
do different
reverse.
things, right?
It's in
Hmm.
reverse. But I've lived in that other bubble, and it is horrifying that people live like that. Yeah, that don't realize that like there's a huge swath of people that don't that reject that. Yeah, and like I live in this state where people aren't at all like that. But they don't understand that there's giant pockets of America that aren't at all like people in California. It's amazing.
Well, you can be the one to educate them.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Find the secularists in your area who aren't necessarily active enough, and you can let them know what it was like living where you lived and how it basically forced you into a position of more and more silence. And now that you're free to speak out, you don't know why these other people aren't speaking out when they have relative safety compared to everybody else. And maybe that kind of message coming from you can enlighten them about what they should be
Right.
working towards.
Okay, that's a great idea. That's
Yep.
really helpful. Thank you. I'm going to
Certainly.
jot that down. Okay,
I appreciate.
great. Thank
Is there
you.
some other way we can help you, or should we move on to more callers?
No, I just want something practical that I can do because it's really frustrating. But yeah, these are really practical suggestions. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Appreciate all you
Awesome.
do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Go off and enjoy the rest of your weekend, Michelle. We've got several other callers to get to. I've never been in that position.
Oh, I have.
I,
that's
I
that's the
remember
story of my activism.
I
and
remember being not political and not caring, but I don't ever remember like being, oh, I'm not going to talk about it. I remember being an atheist and sitting quietly in the house while people talked about religion. That I remember. But on politics, Yeah, I think it's once I got to a point where it's like, this is an issue I care about, nothing was going to stop me, you know?
Right. And I know for me, the issue has always been, you know, the conservatives or those on that evangelical religious side trying to push their beliefs and their policies on everyone else. I've always had a problem with that. As soon as you start infringing on my rights and my liberties, we have a problem. You know, I mean, I do care about the fallacy of what you believe, but as long as you aren't causing direct harm to anyone, then okay. But as soon as you start enforcing that, we have a serious problem here, and that's when it becomes time to speak up and start fighting back.
So I'm going to have a bit of fun real quick before we get to the next caller. There's a comment in the chat that I want to read just to see what your reaction is. There's someone here who says Fox News is becoming liberal too.
I don't
That
watch
was my
Fox
reaction.
News enough, so I don't know. But I mean, they would need to elaborate on that. What do they mean by that?
I think the only sense in which they could say Fox News is liberal is that Fox News is also pointing out that Trump did not win the election.
Well, I mean,
How
there's no
dare we?
debating that, right? There's no disputing that. I guess even Fox News can't even say anything about that. So
How dare we trust the actual evidence? All right.
Hey, thanks for checking out this clip for The Line. While you're here, hit that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and then share this with that bitter uncle of yours who loves talking about the good old days.